You're tuning in to Past Our Prime, a show powered by Squad Locker.
Let's be great. Let's be great.
Here are your hosts, retired Astros minor league star Tip Fairchild and former Patriots All-Pro center Dan Copen.
Go rock this thing, huh?
All right, here we go. What are we on?
77.
77.
Congratulations, by the way, guys. 77 episodes. That's a lot.
You know what number 77 was?
Ooh, 77. Wasn't that
Fulmer?
like Trent? No. Who was the big guy?
77. Oh, gosh. Well, I mean, 77 wasn't it Compton? Wasn't Compton 77?
Yeah.
It was Mike Compton, but the big guy, no.
Trent, the big guy.
I don't think
Brown? Trent Brown?
Is he 77? He might be.
Yeah, thought so.
Max, he looked that up. He actually might be. I think he might be right.
What were you going to say 77 is?
That was my college number and high school number.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know if you were going to get that.
Yeah, I do remember that being your college number, 77.
Trent Brown is 77.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
And they report to training camp today. So football's
starting up, baby.
Close.
Let's say
it's
Tuesday.
Close. And it's good because, like we've said before, there is really not a lot to watch on TV.
Well, and we haven't had an episode since this, but we played golf with Tom E. Curran.
Correct.
What is it? Does he go by? He goes by the actual middle initial too.
Yeah, it's E. I think. Yeah. I mean, if you know Curran, I mean, he's probably just trying to be. I'm not going to curse yet, but he's probably just trying to do it.
He's fun. I had a great time.
I wonder what his middle name is.
I had a great.
I got to ask him.
He's an Edward guy, I bet. Oh, what if he was Thomas Edward, like Brady?
I think he would use that more.
I know. He would say it.
You know, maybe he's an Earl.
Yeah. We played golf with him. He was funny. He's a funny guy. He's a nice guy. Super nice guy. Like humble in his taking him a while to get to be like the kind of one of the guys, right? But now that he's there, it's pretty sweet for him, I'm sure. And he remembers though from back in the day how hard it was to get there. We're talking about that a lot.
You won't talk about. I mean, and we're going to talk to a guy today who's coming on shortly, Guy Fieri.
Yeah, can you give me a pronunciation here?
It's Fieri.
Okay.
I don't know if you can understand what the pronunciation is because I don't even know how I say it.
Mr. Guy.
It's Guy Fieri. I always used to call him Fieri. I did ask him one time. It's like, Fieri or Fieri? I don't even know. So it's Fieri. But like Curran, like it doesn't matter what your sport, not even doesn't have to be sport. Your interest is or your passion, or it's about the work that you put in to it. And you know, Fieri, I mean, Jesus Christ, what the hell isn't he in right now?
Yeah, he's a big name, big image. You know, he's always had the same image for a long time now.
He's a worker though. That's what it comes down to. How much do you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. Yep. And Curran, I would do the same thing. You know, he's one of those beat guys forever and just sort of kept at it, built, and you know, he's one of those guys where stories come out of New England, and if it's from him. There's smoke, there's probably fire.
Yes. He knows. I was trying to probe him a little bit on a couple things, and he was letting, you know, he was open, Tommy Curran. He was letting us know what's going on, but I'm sure that he knows more than most people, and I'm sure he knows it sooner than most people. Would you agree?
Yeah. I would, you know, journalism and like that kind of industry, hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. If I know something, I'm going to tell you about it beforehand. Yep. When, you know, some stuff you probably got to let go, but, you know, some stuff is probably like, do you want me to do this now or should I just wait a couple days so you can get your house in order before I do it?
And then, remember when we had a drink after the round. He played great, by the way. You played phenomenal. You played the best round I've ever seen you play.
I beat you finally.
Oh, you did. And I didn't play great on the front, but you played a superb back nine.
Even par? Was great. I know I was
over?
I was -1 going into 18, and then I piped one out of bounds on 18.
Oh, that's right.
And I went in for a double.
You actually didn't really hit that ball that bad. That's a tough hole, tough tee ball. Yeah. That was a nice little draw. You just started too far left.
I don't. Yeah,
I was very impressed with your game.
I did not. Started out as okay. I only had 15 minutes to warm up, which maybe is a key because I usually go in there an hour beforehand.
Yeah, but you weren't great on the front. You played. I think you had like 6 or 7 pars in a row.
From 7
a birdie.
From 7 to 13.
Yeah,
I was
1 under.
1 under.
Yeah, it's good, Matt. Good.
Everything. I birdied 12. Almost. You think it possibly was close to a hole in one.
But and by the way, 12 at Wannamoisa. It's a very difficult uphill par 3, usually a little over 200. It was probably like 210 that day. Into the wind.
I think into
uphill.
the wind uphill. It was playing 195, so probably right around 210.
And I hit a great ball.
Yes, you did.
I hit a nice high
Which
cut.
sort of like tightens you up, like going after you because you won the hole beforehand.
Yep. Yeah, I hit a nice high cut into it. I'm like, oh, man. I mean, and that's not an easy green, actually, to hit, especially with the wind, and it's just a tough shot. It's a long iron. And then, bang, you get up there and literally almost jar one.
Yeah, it was a good shot.
Like, it was behind the hole, Max, by 2 feet. And I knew that it hit in front of the hole to get where it was. And I don't know how much it missed by, but it wasn't by much.
And then same one on 13, I birdied that, made the putt.
Yep.
And then I come off on 13, par 4, downhill. You're up on a little hill to start on the tee box and pipe one, Max, pipe one down the middle. And he's following me. He's like, oh, man, now I got to follow that. And you roasted one, too.
Roast. I was roasting the ball in the back. I played a good back. But
Curran
played a better back.
We were talking about Curran, too. Curran played unbelievable on the back as well and kept you guys into it,
he
I
looked
think,
like,
a little bit.
Who was the Irwin guy? Crocodile Hunter?
Oh,
George
yeah,
Irwin or
Steve Irwin. Yeah.
He looked
all
like
brown.
He was all brown, all tan, with black shoes on, with a safari hat. And I was like,
By the way, those shoes were probably 20 years old.
And the socks. The socks and shoes were a 20-year-old, probably a 40-year-old combo. And but he played great on the back. And then I was going to say, when we went in to get a drink, he was using the term minor league.
Yeah,
That's like a derogatory term.
It always comes up that way. It's not derogatory.
I laughed so hard. I was like, was that a dig or is that just your term?
You do know who you're talking to right now.
It was, it always comes up.
My shot of the day, probably, that was the best round in 3 years. And I'm usually like 75, or not 75, 78 to 84.
Yeah.
It's probably where I fall.
Yep.
Shoot a 75, but on 17, which is a par 5, great great drive out in the middle.
Hit a beautiful
I was
three-wood.
256 in, Max, on the par 3.
Par 5.
Par 5. And you just unleashed no, did I go first? I went
You
first.
went first. I pumped a good drive. And then you hit one to within 8 feet.
It's like 15. I'll go 50.
I went and reclubbed.
256, 3-wood, right up the center of the green, 15 feet for eagle. Missed it by 2 inches.
Yeah, you did.
But birdied it, and then we know what happened on 18.
Great round by you. Little known fact here, too. Well, I guess Rhode Island golfers probably know. Wild at Wannamoisa on the 12th, 13th, 15th hole. There was an eagle's nest on the course, and they've been there for how many years?
Oh, God, forever. I mean,
literally, it's just these eagles have lived there for forever.
15, 20 years probably they've been there.
And they are.
Maybe
They
more.
bald eagles?
Yeah,
Bald eagles.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
And they're, Max, they're, Max in that $25 bill.
Yeah, we're going to,
Nice, Max.
That goes into the swear jar.
Swear jar. So they're these, they're huge too, Max. Like, it's like, if a good way to picture it is if you were looking up into this tree, it would look like Dan and I were sitting on limbs. Like, they're huge eagles, man.
I got
massive.
I got some pictures. I'll forward to Max. We'll put them out.
Put one up. It's cool though that they live. How lucky are you to have this like beautiful golf course, and
right above the 15th tee.
There's a massive eagle's nest. It's been there forever. I figured eagles were a traveling species.
They go away in the winter. I don't know where they go. I don't think they go far, but they're not there in the winter.
It's surprising that they come back to the same spot.
They come back to that spot.
Do all birds do that?
I don't know. You had Steve Irwin with you?
Yeah, we
could have asked
just
him.
like him.
Well, let's break it down. I mean, geese fly south for the winter,
But
right?
then do they come home
back
to the same nest?
So it's the same
Bald
migrating.
eagles, they can't leave the country.
Okay. So are their migrating patterns the same?
Let's find out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing to look up, Max. So possibly, by the way, so we do have Guy Fieri on today. I have a monster meeting that's being shifted around on me right now. So you may see, listeners and viewers, you may hear a different voice in here.
For a little bit.
For a chunk of time here. And it might be Fieri, and you might see Max in the seat right here.
I actually might let Max just take it over.
You might, and Max probably can.
Is Max prepared?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
People would say that it's a Wally Pip situation potentially, and do you know Wally Pip?
I know
The
Wally
last we
Pip.
saw, Tip.
So Wally Pip was the famous first baseman for the Yankees. By the way, had a great career, and then had a headache one day. Or actually, there's two sides of this story. Some people say he just was hungover. Other people, he did get hit in the head the game before, so he probably had a concussion.
Probably.
And he chose to take the day off, which in those days, like, players played every day. Like, they never took days off. He took the day off, and a young lad by the name of Lou Gehrig,
Young lad,
took his spot at first base. And as they would say, the rest is history. So now when you give somebody the opportunity to potentially displace you, you are potentially being Wally pipped.
Wally tipped.
are you comparing yourself to Lou Gehrig right now?
No, Max.
It's going to be Wally Pip.
No,
Max
I'm
is
Wally Pip. I'm leaving
Max
my
is gonna
seat
be-
potentially. And Max is going to be, I'm Wally Pip, I'm playing, and then Max could come in here, have the greatest interview of interviews, and I might never be back in this seat. I might be behind the producer mic.
Yeah, then we're screwed.
Yeah, we might really be screwed. So that's how that works. Do we have do we have a live feed right now?
We don't have a live feed, but I do have an answer for you on bald eagles migration.
Okay, bring it.
They bald eagles are partially migratory birds. They will fly south for food and warmth.
Food and warmth, but they come back to the same nest.
Yeah.
Probably because that nest they build is like a freaking.
They will
palace,
occupy
man.
the same. They'll occupy the same territory for their life.
No way.
Yep.
Wow. So those
So
eagles
even the
are
one, like, what about the
babies.
what about the? Are they called eaglets?
I think so.
no,
I think they
can't
are.
Be.
I think they are.
They can't be eaglets.
I think they are. The babies
Baby
are
eagles.
Eaglet.
Eaglet.
What? Yeah, that is a wild
Or a
term.
chick.
All right. Well, I'll take
That's
eaglet.
a wild term.
I think I pronounced
So
it
they
wrong,
get
but
their home. The parent's
wonder-
home is being handed down to them. I wonder if there's a luxury tax there. But they take over the same nest and they live there forever. No kidding. Interesting.
learn something new.
What else does Max have up here? You put a couple things on the board. You put some stuff up there, huh, Max?
Played some golf this last weekend.
Yeah, there was some golf. The live thing, we talked a little bit about it with Patrick. And people, by the way, a lot of messages from people that said they really liked the NIL discussion that we had with Patrick, that playbook, because nobody understands it.
Yeah.
Like Reed sent me a text message. He said, best episode you guys have had.
That's what we do, informative.
That's
Breaking
informative reporting.
Trying to educate people on different subjects and the landscape of youth sports and collegiate sports.
He sent me a message. He said,
this episode has
learned a
nothing
lot.
to do with that, but
this episode is much more about, and you have a friendship with Guy. Like you've known him for a long time. Mm-hmm. So you guys will. This
is more
talk once a year, a couple times a year.
Yeah. To be honest, this is probably more in our wheelhouse. This is probably going to be centered more around food and what you like.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And he has a new show, which we're going to promote on this podcast as well.
This was an actual
guys. All right, I'll tell the story before. So I ended all right. Tip and I use our circles sometimes to get guests, and have over the past year and a half, and that's how we did it. Correct. We're changing things up a little bit now, and we're going to go
some more in from Squad Locker,
which is
but
great.
we still have we still can go to the well.
Oh yeah, we can still spin it.
Still go to the well.
So we can still spin it some way. So I texted Guy, and I was like, "Hey," I texted him a while ago too. I was like, "Hey, can you come on?" He's like, "Sure, name a day, let's go on."
Yep.
And I was like, "Okay, how about next Tuesday?" Yep. Okay. Sounds good. Or I'm traveling this day. Find another one. So go back and forth over a course of probably about a month. Finally, it's like, all right, now we need to get him on because we're probably trying to find somebody.
And then he canceled it.
It's Monday or Tuesday. Hey, can you come on tomorrow around 1 or whenever you're free? We'll figure it out. And he texts me back. He's like, hey, get in touch with my assistant or something like that who does my scheduling. It's like, oh, now we're
getting big. That's called
we're getting a little big time now.
Big leagued.
Big league, big time, Wally pipped,
That's
whatever
not
you want to
minor
do.
leagued. That's a little
I
bit
was like,
big league.
okay, so now I have to go through an assistant, go to email her, sure, blah, 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 no problem. What are you thinking? Now they're asking questions. What's it about?
And now you're getting, and you were tied in with at one point. It felt like the chief financial officer of the Food Network.
I'm getting emails from a person at the Food Network now to schedule him and want to know about our podcast and what we're discussing there. And it's just like, look, I'm a friend. He said he'd go on. Is that not good enough? So
it's funny.
we'll talk to Guy about how big time he is now.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I would say somebody like him, even as you just progress in business, like it's so much help. It's so like, and we know Amelia. We work with Amelia all the time in here, who's like an executive assistant for Squad Locker. Mm-hmm. It is so valuable to have somebody help with that type of stuff of scheduling. Mm-hmm. Number one, traveling. Number two, that's a pain, right? Where they just go, hey, check your calendar. Your flights are in there. Your confirmation's in there. You're at this hotel. Boom. That is so nice. That. Like, do people, well, I guess we call it travel agents, but like just for people who are just traveling with their families and stuff, that must be so nice to have that concierge service too. I've never done that. I've always just booked it myself. Or my wife, really. She always books it. You have somebody do it?
No. God,
no. So having somebody do it must be so much easier. You see guys all
the time like, oh, I have an assistant or something like that. You look at me like, really? You have an assistant?
Yeah. Time value
I don't
money,
get that.
Man. Time value
time
money.
management and sports and business.
Yeah. I mean, think about it.
Nice little thing to have underneath you.
I used to book all of my travel for Clean Brands, one of our other companies, and I was traveling a ton. And then we hired this outside agency, like travel agency, and all I would do, I filled out this profile where the profile was crazy. It was down to like things that you like to eat, like what you like to do if you're in a city, like everything, your airline that you travel, your car service, everything, and then you plugged in all of your reward numbers. And if you didn't have one, he would set you up with one. Mm-hmm. And then you had this profile. And all I would say is, I have to be in New Orleans on this day. And this is when it's over. Or whatever, right? I have to be in Dallas on this day. Boop. Everything would come over. Flights, Uber to the airport, already all scheduled, or car service to reservations for dinners. Done, bing, 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 done. Everything right in my calendar. It was so liberating to be like, I don't have to do this. That would have taken me 2 hours. Yeah. 4 hours.
No, man.
That stuff is
and
great.
You probably would have messed up.
Absolutely. And then I would have got stuck, and then I wouldn't have somebody call. And this guy, there was a service line. If you ever were stuck in the airport, anywhere, boom. Like, you didn't go to the desk. You didn't do anything. You just called this thing, and then they would handle it. Right. Rebook you, move you to a different thing. It was incredible. So
there you go.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of his company, but should have given him a plug there. Do we have anything else, or are we just going into Guy?
Let's just go. Let's get the Guy.
All right. So you may have me, folks, and you may have Max. And again, if I'm no longer in this seat after this episode, we know what happened. Max was phenomenal, and I would believe that you will be, Max.
You have the best trust.
Can you do both?
What?
Produced,
edit,
and
yeah.
Oh, you know what you should do?
Well, I mean,
you know what you should do?
What do you get?
Just move the camera.
No, I'll sit down there. It's way easier.
All right. He doesn't need to.
He wants to get right in the catbird seat. What are you going to tell Guy? You're going to be like, hey, I'm Tip? Or are you going to be
I'm
like...
the more attractive version, less talented.
No, more skinnier.
Yeah.
But I'm on it right now, so everybody knows.
I know. We saw you.
Oh, yeah, you got me. Well, that was just push-ups. That's just to get the veins popping for the camera. Dan and I did 8 to 12 push-ups. We both came in here completely winded. Like there was a wheeze coming out of us on the mics when we first.
It's very hot in here.
I was about to say on top
it's
of it.
It's very heavy in here.
It is. It's heavy air anywhere. We're in a heat wave up here in Rhode Island. Do you have a water ban at your house right now?
There's one in Narragansett.
So you're not watering?
No, not down there.
How do they track that? Do you know, Max?
I don't know if they do. I think it's basically drive-bys.
Yeah.
Drive-bys and snitches, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So guess what? Boom. I changed my water. I changed my sprinklers. They go off at 1 a.m. now.
Yeah. That's a workaround.
Yep.
It's the best time to water.
I did a 40-minute.
Yeah, but are you in a water ban where you are?
I think so.
Usually they go odds and evens, right? Days?
Yeah,
first.
so I only water every other day anyway. So the sprinklers, every other day it's programmed 5 a.m., but I think there's a water ban, so I switched up the timing. Still go every other day, but I did do a 40-minute per zone cycle the other night because it's starting to get crispy, and I don't like crispy. I like it when it's like, you like to lay on it.
Yeah.
And it was running last night.
Same.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. You got sprinklers?
Yeah. I built my own. They're kind of MacGyvered.
That's okay.
Of course they were.
Good.
I guarantee you they run great.
They do. It was $28.
All right.
Well, you have my questions if I'm not here.
Oh,
I only have one.
Two
really
questions.
Well, I have one more actually. I'll tell you after we hang up, and then we'll bring Guy on.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, we're here with a friend of mine, supposedly, Guy Fieri. Fieri? Yeah, I'm sure it did. He does everything, really. I mean, he's a chef, a restaurateur. Is that how you say it? Restaurateur? Restaurateur. He's an author. He's an Emmy-winning host. And, you know, one of the reasons he's on his press junket release and doing a lot of interviews August 31st at 9 p.m. on the Food Network channel. He has a new game show coming out called Guy's Ultimate Game Night. And we'll get to that. But how you doing, brother?
I'm good. And I'm not on a press tour right now. You're my buddy. I've known you forever. I've been through the good, the bad, and the ugly with you. And when I hear that you're doing something, I said, I got to just tune in. I got to
Yeah, you just want to see what's going on. Well, hey, I mean, like I said earlier, good or bad, it's going to happen. So we'll figure it out as we go.
Well, you know everybody, and everybody loves you, and you've always been such a supporter for anybody's projects or interests or kids or whatever it may be. And I think if you're doing something like this, I'm honored to be invited to come talk smack and tell lies.
Hey, that's what we do here. So, I mean, you're the perfect person to have. And what this podcast sort of got centered around was the team concept and the bond that teammates have within a locker room, right? And then our co-host Tip, who's not here, Max is here. You know, former athletes, they don't have that bond anymore, but those stories, and no matter how often you talk to your teammates, you know, you just pick up where you left off. And I think, you know, I mean, athletic background, looking at you, I mean, that's probably not a very good athletic background. Am I correct in assuming that?
I'm sorry, you just cut out. It sounded like you were making no sense and babbling again.
Well, I mean, you're sweating coming from the gym. So
well, I mean, I went to the gym today, which you can't say. And two, so I mean, let's just call it the kettle black. And two, I rushed to get here and said, I of course was not the athlete that you were, but I played all my sports and not well.
Well, the reason I get to that though is where you are now.
Are we going to do this for serious, or are we going to sit here and talk today?
No, we're going to do serious because we're going to get to the serious part, but there will be talking in the middle. And you and I curse
punches. We're supposed to be great buddies. You're already mean.
We have a swear jar, and the donations will go to the Special Olympics. So you're already in for $25.
And Dan's got you. Actually, no, Tip's got you because he's missed.
Hey, but like where you are now, like it doesn't come without somebody helping you out. It doesn't come without teammates. It doesn't come without work ethic. And you see you're out there grinding with how many TV shows that you have and everything that you do. Where does that come from?
I think it comes from the same grit that it takes to do. I mean, like I said, I played sports when I was a kid, and nothing was worse than, you know, double days of football. Granted, it was Pop Warner. It was no NFL, but you form that bond with people. You find people that you have likeness with or same commitment levels to. I mean, I think it's probably one of the reasons you and I are friends is what we were doing with Best Buddies. You know, you find people that want to do great in business, people that want to make great food, people that want to play hard in sports, people that want to go, you know, into overtime and give it their all. And I think that when you start to find that, like I went to college at UNLV and was in, still in my fraternity, ATO, and some of the trials and tribulations we went through in that, those are my closest friends in the world. You know, my best friend from college, ATO brother, is the godfather of my kids, is also the executive director of my foundation, of the Guy Fieri Foundation. So I think there's a commonality in that. When you go through blood, sweat, and tears with somebody or a group, I think that's kind of where it comes from. So we do it in the kitchens. You know, we go through.
How does it work in the kitchens? How does it work in the kitchens?
Oh, I can't give you I'll give you the analogy of, you know, you're going to the playoffs, you know, that's Mother's Day. You know, we got everybody in town showing up. Again, of course it's not the playoffs, but it's that kind of grind that you're going to pull off a 10, 12, 15-hour day, and then, turn around and come back tomorrow. And you get people that call in sick. You get people that, can't work. You get all these different things that take place, and you get purveyors that don't deliver. I mean, so if you tell me about the failures that you have on the field, I'll tell you that not in exact same physical aspect, but in the mental aspect, you have those failures in the restaurants. And again, a huge difference of physicality and so forth, but that mental responsibility and that teamwork and that participation and that admiration and that, all those things you count on, I think have a direct correlation.
What about the adaptability also? Playing with the New England Patriots for all those years and just in sports in general, stuff happens out on that field that you're not prepared for. And it's the teams that are usually willing to adapt the quickest have the best chances to succeed.
Anybody that gets so tight-assed about how it's going to go is usually the one that's going to slow the program. You got to be able to adapt and overcome. We talk about it all the time about some of the greatest recipes or some of the greatest, changes that we've had have been when, we're getting ready to cater something and somebody didn't make the order correctly, or, somebody dropped somebody dropped the prime rib, and you have to figure out how to adapt and overcome. And I see it being a sports fan and watching you guys play for all these years. You see that you got to pick yourself up. Someone just threw an interception and they ran it back, and you thought you had this thing, in the bag, and you dig deep, and let's go back to the Super Bowl, this new 80 for Brady movie, which is awesome. Are
you going to be in it?
Yeah, I'm in it. Yeah.
Are you in it?
Great. Yeah.
Oh, you got one up on me. I'm not even in it. That's bull.
Which is great because I was there at the game, and I'm a Raider, but I'm a big fan of Tom and all of you guys, and of course Jules, and friends with all these guys. And my wife's a big Patriots fan, and we weren't leaving. It was halftime, and it was not going anywhere. And you watch a team dig deep and find that gear and turn that around. I mean, that's what it's all about. And we've had it in the same situation in the restaurants where we've had a major situation go down and an oven break, or, so there was a reservation for 20 that didn't get put on the books, and now they're here. And, how are you going to deal with this stuff? So it's, what? I think that's one of the reasons I love the restaurant business is that every day is different. I can't imagine any one game was the same game that you all played. It has the same components, boom, 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 teams and, a ball and 100 yards and the deal. But after that, man, it's just anybody's game. And that's what the restaurant business is a lot like.
Where did you start? Or where did the passion for food come from?
I grew up in Northern California, and my parents were both really good cooks, but experimented a lot with food. And so we went through macrobiotic food. We went through vegan and vegetarian. My parents are, hippies, or were hippies, not dope smoking hippies. My mom always says I have to clarify that they weren't dope smoking, but they were kids of the 60s. They had a leather shop in, called the Abraxas. And being a kid that grew up in that, I mean, we grew up eating everything. And the deal was in my family, whoever cooked didn't have to do the dishes. Well, that was my first inspiration because I hate doing dishes. But it was whoever cooked didn't have to do dishes. And then my parents both worked. They had their little, they had their business, and I could go to the store. I mean, the town I lived in is 1,400 people. So I could go to the store, charge the food at the Valley Grocery is what it was called, and go home and cook. And we weren't eating a lot of meat and stuff, but I would go to my friend's house and have meatloaf. I'm like, what is this thing? I've never had this. And so I just got a cookbook out. I was about 9 or 10. And I started to cook. And the joy that you get when you, for me at least, when I cook something and it makes somebody happy, it's kind of, I guess, why artists sing and, painters paint and, that kind of thing is you're doing it and it's making somebody else feel good. And that got me at a young age.
So Guy, I was doing some research yesterday. I was wearing my producer hat, and I saw that, 5 years later after you picked up that cookbook, you moved to France. Now, when you were there, before you moved there, did you know French at all? Or was it a crash course?
I had no idea what I was getting into. So my parents, we had exchange students when I was a kid, and we had exchange students from Norway and Sweden. And I was always taught on a very big worldly, profile. My dad's a super smart guy, and we did a lot of critical thinking as a kid. And so I was very aware at a young age. And we'd been through terrible shit in our family. My little sister was 4 and had cancer. I learned I had to grow up really quick. And, but we were a very worldly family, ate a lot of different types of food, had a lot of different types of friends, went to all different types of cultural experiences. So we had exchange students when I was like 8 and 9 years old. And I'm eating food from Sweden and Norway, and I'm learning about these cultures. And like, you don't have a Thanksgiving? I mean, like, what kind of people are you? You don't have, they had Christmas, but they had all these different traditions. And I said, I want to be an exchange. I want to go to another country. I want to go do this. Well, in my town, in my high school, there were only 150 kids in my high school. In my high school, you could only take a language course when you were a junior and senior. And the only language course we had was Spanish. And I was like, I got to go. But you can't get into any one of the programs if you don't have the language. So I talked my dad into, we had a family friend show up from France on Thanksgiving named Pierre Lachaud. And Pierre, I just sat there and needled Pierre for about a week saying, I want to come to France. Can you help me get to France? I want to go to France. And I started when I was like 12. So I'd write him letters. I'd hustle him to get me a thing. And he finally wrote back and said, I have a friend that was, in the war with the Americans. He really is an American fan. He's a principal of a high school. And you can go to the high school if you want to come over there. And so I wrote the principal, and the principal told me about a boarding house. So I had it all lined up. But the deal was I didn't speak French. So my dad said, if you can pass the French course at the junior college and you take 1 year of it and you get a B or better, you can go. So I was 14 and a half when I started, 15. I started, my mom would drive me to the junior college at my lunch break from high school as a sophomore, and I would take the class, and I graduated with a B or better. I could not speak one word of French. It's like most people take their first language.
Yeah, I took Spanish in college in the summer, and I got an A, and I have no idea how to say a word.
Thank you. So I go to France, just turned 16, just had my driver's license, and I take off for France. And I remember being on the plane. My parents put me on the plane in San Francisco, and I'm like, what am I doing? This is the dumbest thing. But it's been my way I've lived my life. Has always been full throttle. So it just was that was the beginning of it. And it was the greatest experience of my life. And it peeled back my eyes to recognize how massive the world is and how big the opportunities are and how much you can't take it for granted. I mean, there's just so many pieces of, enlightenment that I got. And it was, and food was one of the big ones there. I'm eating food. It's like, wait a second. I've eaten a steak and French fries in the United States, and it doesn't taste like anything like this, and everything there was organic. That's all they did. They don't have another way to grow food at that time. Do you find that
everything over there do you find that everything in Europe and France is a little bit healthier than here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're getting into their problems. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I remember the grocery store. I lived in a town called Chantilly. So we would call it Chantilly. Remember that song, Chantilly Lace? And that's the town that I lived in. It's got a famous racetrack in northern France, just north of Paris, about 15 minutes. But you'd go to the grocery store, and the grocery store was like this much of a cold section, and everything else was just fresh. Bread was fresh. And now I went back 40 years later, and I go to the same grocery store, and it's just boom, 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 freezers, And I'm like, wow, you guys are falling into the dark side of things. You kind of go to processed foods, but that's what it is. There's so many foods though that we couldn't ever find in the United States, couldn't find in France because they wouldn't allow it. There was just so many processes and so forth that they weren't allowing. But, yeah.
Was it mac and cheese or something like that? You're not allowed to have mac and cheese over there?
I don't know. I just had guests for my wedding from Germany, and they were comparing every single piece of food that we had in our fridge. And they're like, well, no, you guys don't have this. You guys don't have that. Everything here is processed.
Oh, well.
And there is, fortunately, the world of food is on a huge, especially in the United States, is on a major rebound. I mean, we have righted the ship I give the Food Network so much credit for that because I think that they've been the loudest voice in the room. But, food's a lot like education. Ask somebody to watch football that doesn't understand the game. They can't stand it. They don't get it. It's barbaric. What happens? You explain to somebody how football works. Well, baseball is that for me. I mean, I like baseball. I like watching it. But until I really learned the mental mechanics of baseball, I'm like, wait a minute. This changes the game dramatically. So when people can get an understanding of food, the difference between mac and cheese in a box and the mac and cheese that I'll make you here, and they can taste the textural differences, and they're like, oh, wait. This is what I've been eating the whole time. I've been getting sold a song. I've been getting told to, and that's a big thing that is happening still because we lost ourselves. We wanted to make food faster and easier and quicker and home replacement meals and frozen. And don't get me wrong, those all have their place in the world. I'm not a food shamer by any means. But a lot of times when people come to my house for dinner or what we're making food and they say, I don't like Brussels sprouts. I'll say, how long you haven't liked Brussels sprouts? Oh, since I was a kid. Okay, because your mom boiled them. Your mom boiled them and you had this boiled little cabbage head. It was nasty. It's just terrible. Let me show you the way I'm going to make them. I've been eating Brussels sprouts my whole life,
I hope you put bacon in there.
There needs to be some bacon and balsamic. I will give you that.
Thank you.
But that's the thing is we have cut some corners. Everybody is now. I mean, it's happening all over. But there's a lot of debate going on of what people know about food. And I think more that we educate people about food. Same thing about music, about art, about world issues, about our favorite, one of my favorite charities, Best Buddies. When you educate people about it, typically people get a better perspective, better understanding, and are more inclined to understand it, like it, help it, support it, believe in it, you name it.
That was the education part for me on cooking. Probably was diners, drive-ins, and dives for me, and I think it probably is that for a lot of people in America and around the world. Like, I don't want to say a cult like following or anything, but just educational and here's real America. Here's where the people are working. Here's where the good food is. And by the way, they're going to take you through that process as you go through the show. And that show is absolutely amazing. And then when the burger you made at the Best Buy Shriver's Place. Remember, so we're at Best Buddies, a phenomenal event that they throw across the United States. This one happened to be in New England, down in Hyannis. Guy is one of the hosts. Would I call you a host with Brady? You're one of the big.
Tom, that was how. I mean, that's how Tom was. It was Tom's. He was the leader of it. I was the sideshow, and then we built some more attention to it. But it's kind of how it was. Tom did his piece. I did my piece.
You had the food part of the charity deal, and he comes to Shriver's house late at night. This is Guy Fieri, big time guy. What does he do? He goes back into the kitchen at the house and cooks burgers for everybody. And I'm telling you, I've never had a better burger than that burger.
That was some good stuff. Well,
and you had the buddies in there. You had the kitchen staff in there. You had people in there. I had
you in there. You were.
I know. I was flipping burgers. I was a little bit. I think I'm trying to see if I was fatter at the time or skinnier or whatever. But that was just an unbelievable experience to see you in your element. Just like, okay, enough with the hoopla. Let's just go back, and this is where the fun is. This is where the joy is.
Everybody, I was in a movie. I got cut, but I'm on the Blu-ray version of it called The Interview with James Franco and Seth Rogen. And the movie is about these guys going to the interview in North Korea. But I get brought in to the part of the show where we have the Middle Eastern conference that's going on. And I am trying to bridge the problem with food. And because it's a quote that I've said forever, is that food's the common denominator of all people. I mean, you don't like the same music, you don't like the same sports, you don't like the same color, you don't like the same politics, you don't like the same whatever. Everybody loves food. And so I was bridging this. That was my part of the show, which was a hysterical part. I know that you're probably a big fan and have that Blu-ray DVD of that. but it was the
I've
greatest
seen the
part.
movie, but does anybody have Blu-rays anymore?
I don't know, but I thought it was awesome. But I was so bummed when it got cut. But it was a great part, and James Franco was hysterical in it because we're talking about trying to get these guys to taste it, and they don't want to even sit next to each other. And then they're starting to appreciate this falafel that I make, blah, blah, blah. But it is. Food is this way that we can bridge so many things. And you'll hear everybody talk about it, from weddings to parties to what you did. You went on vacation, and usually one of the main topics will be the food. So I appreciate the comments on Triple D. You know, that's what Triple D was about, is part education to show people like how a burger is not just a burger. You could get a burger for 99 cents. You can get a lot of things for 99 cents. But if you really want to have it done right, here are all the steps, in my opinion, of why this place is a great place and why the burger is outstanding. And that's what's been fun about the show. And on top of it, it gives people a little insight to some places that they probably wouldn't have gone to, you know, on a regular trip into a town, because it's maybe not on the beaten path, and maybe it doesn't have the biggest sign and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you still keep in touch with a lot of those people?
Yeah, on the regular, I text most of them every
what's a couple
15,
what's a couple that just come out? Yeah, I know there's a lot, but what's a couple that just like like I was watching one the other day. I didn't even know what year it was, but there was it was Russian food. And you were in there just like amazed by what you were eating. Was I in Cuba?
I don't know. I shot a Russian joint in Cuba that was lights out. There's an Eastern European place in Vegas called Forte, Forte. Oh my gosh, crazy good. Hodad's Burgers in San Diego, Pagoda Restaurant in North Pole, Alaska. You've got, Reno's in South Boston. You ever been to Reno's?
I don't think so. No, I was on the Polish one.
Dan.
Reno's.
Oh my gosh, this place. There's only 12 tables in it.
Hey, all right. So look at you. Your wife's from Rhode Island, right? And I'm living in Rhode Island now. You know how much effort it takes to get up to South Boston nowadays?
Where are you living in Rhode Island?
East Greenwich.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, so
yeah,
I'm coming. Listen to this. I'm in Cali right now. I've got to go to I'm going to New Hampshire tomorrow for shoot Triple D, and my wife's family's having a family reunion. So if I'm going to go to the family reunion, I can only handle family reunions for one day. So you go to your family reunion, I'll go work. So I'm going to go shoot. There you go. I'm going to go shoot in North Conway. Never been there. But we're going to shoot.
Great place.
Well, why don't you come up? I'll be there. I'm going to shoot on Friday if you're not doing anything.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything.
I don't know how far that is. But here's the story.
2.5 hours, 3 hours.
So I'm driving. So I'm flying to North Carolina. I'm supposed to be there on Thursday. Well, then I find out that my band, one of my favorite bands my whole life, Rage Against the Machine, is playing in Cleveland. And I have cousins in Cleveland. So I'm going to fly to Cleveland tomorrow morning, go see Rage, get back on the plane. Then I'm going to fly to Rhode Island and pick up my mother-in-law on the premise that she will go to Oneyville and get me some gaggers.
Got to get the gaggers.
We've talked about them a few times.
The gagger. Oh my God. Is that the worst nickname for a hot dog ever?
Hey, listen, all I know is I am telling you about it right now, and my mouth is watering so bad. It is one of my favorite things to eat. And people look at me like, are you serious? And I'm like, you guys don't understand what you have here. And and I've had gaggers from different people, different places around the country. There's just something about going to Oneyville. There's something about the New York Systems guys, the way they do it, how great everybody's. I don't know. It's something about the history. I went there. I started going there when I was in my mid-20s, and the rule was when we'd go there that you could, if we got them to go, I used to have to drive with them with my hand outside the window because my mother-in-law wouldn't let me drive in their car with the gaggers.
Yes. No, that scent stays with you for days. That's rule number one.
Let it out.
She goes, we're going to bring gaggers on the jet. And I'm like, yeah. She goes, I don't have a problem with it. I said, I love the smell of them. So that's the
For
deal.
those that don't know, a gagger is basically a hot dog cooked in lard, put on a bun on somebody's arm all the way up with onions, meat sauce, and celery salt and mustard, right? Is there mustard? Yeah.
Well, the key is the Coney Island sauce. So there's a meat sauce that goes on top of it. And what happens is when you go in, you got to go. Listen, this is a pilgrimage. I know that you got.
Go. You got to go all the way, and you better tip.
You got to go all the way to get tip. So he'll put the bun here, and he'll lay the dog into the bun. Okay, and he gets it up the arm like that. And then he'll hit the sauce. And the sauce is kind of like an offset spatula, the way he puts it in there. And he gets the meat in, and he gets the meat in. And then you hit the onions, and then you hit the mustard, and then you hit the celery salt. And you got to get it that way. If you think you want 3, get 6. My mouth is, and it's a special kind of hot dog that you only find in Rhode Island Red. And it is, forever I have been on the quest to make that sauce, because you can buy the packets, the seasoning packets at New York Systems. Yeah. And it's good. But there's nothing like eating it there, sitting at the counter, listening to stories. You got to get coffee milk. You got to go through the whole thing.
Now, does he have a glove on that sleeve?
He does now. He used to 20 years ago he did. There's not a lot of.
I don't know. I was there about 8 months ago. Every time, if I'm within, literally, I was at the NBA Finals, and I was like vacillating between, how do I get from there? Because I was on a family road trip. Oh, yeah. Well, this is what a sports junkie I am, and my kids are. We were in Kentucky on a road trip on our big RVs. We do this family road trips every year. And it's game 3, the Warriors, Celtics. I have restaurants in Boston with Big Night Entertainment, great, awesome people. And we're talking at the fireside one night, and my kid says, "Gosh, Dad, I thought we were going to try to make an NBA final." I said, "I really want to." He goes, "How far is Kentucky from Boston?" I'm like, "I don't know." So I called my pilot, like, "How far is Kentucky from Boston?" He says, "No problem. Let's go." So the next morning, we took off. The guys from Big Night got us there, and the kids. It was the best time. But I'm there, and I'm like, how far? How much is it going to be? It was going to be like a $5,000 stock to go get hot wieners. I'm like, almost as worth it.
It might be worth it. You're absolutely right. Sports fan. What's the best sporting event ever? I have my opinion on this, but you've been to a lot of them, and you've worked a lot of them, setting up your tailgates. What's your favorite sporting event?
Have you ever been to curling? No, it's not it. It's not curling.
Curling lasts for like 3 days, right? Over on the pitch or the oval. They play it on the oval.
I'll tell you, I'm a fan. When you're in the moment, this is how I explain music too. When you're there and you're listening to Pink Floyd and Money comes on, and you have that sensation of everybody there just chill and the song's happening, and you go back in your memory of it being a kid in college and all those things, that where you played that. Same thing for me when I go to Fenway. Same thing with me when I go to the Derby, which we've done the Derby show. Same thing when you go to the NBA All-Star or the Super. When you're in the moment and you're having that experience of everything from the fans that are out of their mind going to the game for the first time, and they've got their jerseys on, and they're just, they're spending their life savings to go do this, or when you're sitting there and you're watching Kobe and you're watching the interaction and there's, so I can't say it's one, but I will tell you that we're so blessed to have, and granted, I've probably had greater opportunities than I should. But I think also, honestly, one of my favorites is the NBA All-Stars. NBA All-Stars to me, because it's so intimate. And if you're a basketball fan, which I was not a huge pro basketball fan. Of course, you had all your faves. I was a Dr. J fan. First time I got to meet Dr. J, but I lost my mind. But my son Ryder's a huge fan. So you try to support your kids and what your kids are into, and he's a huge sports fan. Anytime he tells me he can't pass a test, I'm like, yeah, but you could give me the stats of anybody that's playing on a team you don't even like. So
is that where Golden State fan came from? Your son?
Well, no, because in Northern California, that's where I'm from. I mean, that's what you had to be. You were, that's our team. We don't have any other teams. We had Golden State. You were either a Raider or a Niner. And you're a Giant.
You're a Raider. There's no chance you're a Niner.
Yeah, no, it's Raider all day. But listen, don't get me wrong. Joe Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Young. I mean, Jerry Rice. I mean, Ronnie Lott. I mean, I could go through amazing what they've done. Going to see a game in Candlestick. Did you ever play Candlestick?
Yeah. I got a chance to play there in 2008. What a place. Yeah. Seemed like a really good baseball field.
The point being is Ryder got so into it, and so I got into it. And it's, again, one of those things. Once you get into what the sport is and the discipline and all of the intricacies to it, it just makes it so much more amazing to watch. And it's funny because Lori and Ryder will be at basketball practice, whatever, and there'll be a game on, and I'll turn on an NBA game that's not even my team's, and I'll sit there and watch it because, one, I have to stay up on the what's going on. So when Ryder comes to tell me about it, I can be involved in the conversation.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, like, I've played in the Super Bowl. I've been to the Super Bowl, Daytona 500, NBA Finals. NHL. I think I've been to the World Series maybe once, but for me, it's the Derby, dude. Just going there.
You played in the Super Bowl. Come on. Yeah, but it's got to be different being there and the pressure and so forth versus enjoying and hanging out. I can see that.
I told my wife and family, we had friends over the other day or something like that. It was like, do you realize, like, when you're sitting in a locker room before a game, NFL, college, doesn't matter, you know what's going on outside. A tailgate. What's more fun than a tailgate? Nothing. And you got to go out there and like bang your head against a wall for 3 hours just to get to that tailgate.
I can't even comprehend. And I've been close to, I've been to a lot of games, a lot of Super Bowls, and I love it so much. The discipline that you all have is just mind-blowing to me, and such admiration and such respect. And I think that what you give, football is, we were just having a conversation the other night with Ryder. He was asking me what I thought was the easiest sport and the most demanding sport. And I said, without question, I think football is the most demanding. I mean, physically, mentally, emotional. I mean, there's just so many pieces to it. You got gigantic people trying to kill you.
Yeah, there's a lot going on,
and there's so much mental game to it. But the Derby is, the Derby is one of those things that is. I was in a fishing tournament. Okay, so I'm not a big fisherman, but I was in a fishing tournament in Hawaii for marlin, and we're out on these boats way off the coast of Hawaii for 3 days. And it was the greatest, because when you're with pros that know what they're doing, and you've got some, back to this thing that I was saying about food, education about the food gives you such a better appreciation for what you're eating and what it should taste like, and why you should, when who grew the vegetables. That's a real thing. That adds perspective to it. So I think when we can educate people about what's going on, and I imagine that's a lot of what happens on your podcast, it just gives people a better depth of knowledge and more appreciation.
Absolutely. I mean, diners, drive-ins, and dives, I think, the farm to table, those food trucks that we see all over the place are a direct result of getting that education from that show.
So yeah. We have only a few minutes left, but Tip actually sent me a few questions. So Tip is a little bit larger than I am. He's got a little bit more pounds in a few places than I do. So he wanted to see.
Very nice way of saying that.
Yeah,
try to be politically correct with him,
which is amazing that you're not 1,000 pounds, by the way.
So if he's going out to dinner, what do you think is the best food for him to eat? He's got a carb addiction.
There is no substitute.
I can't. I mean, are we talking about trying to get Tip in tip-top shape, or are we just letting Tip be Tip?
Oh, no. Tip-top shape. He always wants to be fit. He wants to be like the... Have you seen Tom Brady?
He talks about it a lot.
Well, Tom is a whole nother level of, okay, crazy. Amen. I mean, look at the guy. He's in better shape.
Crazy with means. Crazy with means is a lot easier than crazy.
True. True. You know what? Carbs, when I was a young chef and had my restaurants here in Northern California, I remember eating pasta 5 days a week. I even now, maybe once a month, will get pasta. I have a choice about how I want to live my life. And I think that the older we get, I mean, I'm turning 55 in January. And I don't know where those numbers came from. That's a big lie. I tell my parents all the time they lied to me. Birth certificates, it's a hoax. But we have to make conscious decisions. And there's ways to eat and things to eat and methods of eating that really, I think, can improve people's life, and how they do. But if I ate everything that I thought about in a day, we'd have to do this on a whole different size screen. Now I don't want to get up this morning and I've had Chef Kat Cora here for dinner last night at the house, and she's one of my idols. I mean, she's amazing, and I cooked for her. That was a great moment. But I cook healthy. I mean, that's probably 90% of the way I cook. I mean, we did, fire roasted chicken in a wood-fired oven, and roasted carrots and kale salad, and so no big flamboyant meal. And she's like, gosh, this is so nice to just sit down and have a great home cooked quality, but I do organic chicken and organic beets and that kind of stuff. So it's about decisions. I mean, like I said, if I wanted to go eat every single thing, I'll make a choice of going to get hot gaggers.
Yeah.
That I will pay that price somewhere. I may pay the price of not getting to eat. There may not be any cocktails on Friday night. If I'm going to spend my calories over there. But
that's a tough decision to make. If you're going to include drinks versus gaggers, might as well just do both. Take out the pasta for 2 months.
Listen, Dan. It's like I'm brokering with my own self. Like, okay, let's talk. Let's be honest about this. But it's I make this joke all the time. I won't eat. I used to say the joke all the time about pizza. When it's good, it's really good. And when it's bad, we'll still eat it. Yeah. That's how we were with pizza when we were kids. We'd eat cardboard with it had tomato sauce and cheese on it. Now, if I'm going to eat pizza, it's going to be some damn good pizza. It's got to be some good pizza. I'm not going to blow it up for that. We're going to take it. We're going to make a little bit better decision. So I don't know.
The cauliflower crust nowadays on some pizza, even on the frozen stuff that we make for the kids, the cauliflower crust is good.
Yep.
Right. I am 1,000% on it. I mean, I'll make Ryder pasta, and then I'll take spaghetti squash and make my spaghetti squash and put the bolognese on top of that. And, it's not the same, but it works, and you also have to remember that you have to condition yourself. It's kind of like when you were, playing ball. You had to make so many sacrifices to be your best. And I know what makes me feel good when I eat. I know when I eat, when it makes me feel good. I know what I need to get out of my body if I'm going to exercise. What level I'm going to do, or I'm an avid hunter. So when I'm there doing that, like what is going to be my caloric? So you just try to pay attention to it.
I'll just tell Tip to get on the Peloton.
Yeah, just tell Tip to be more disciplined and make better decisions. That was a dumb question from Tip, by the way. He knew that. Hey,
try spaghetti squash.
Just vegetables, right? At moderation, everything in moderation.
That was one of the things, Dan, that I was just going to say. When I lived in France, we ate everything in courses. It wasn't fancy meals, but we just ate in courses. And the first thing we ate was a salad. Yeah. Well, sometimes we had salad at the end, but we would eat something. I thought
they did salad at the end for roughage or something like that.
So what happens though is we would start out eating something, then we would stop. And I'm like, scab, I would eat anything. And then we would serve the next thing. And if you give your stomach a chance to catch up to your head, to your mind, you'll be amazed at how little you'll eat. But if you get that plate full and you have that 10 minutes to power it down, you'll eat it all. And then 10 minutes later, it'll catch up to you and you'll say, oh, I'm satiated. I'm full. I'm done.
Yeah.
Slow it down. eat it in courses, give yourself a little break. One, you will appreciate things a lot more because you get a chance to really taste them in their own space. And that's one of the ways that we talk about it a lot, about helping people with it, is smaller portions and spreading it out a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're good, Max.
All right.
I think the other thing is don't go to the supermarket hungry. If you go to the supermarket hungry, you're screwed.
Well, don't take any gummies and go to the supermarket.
No, that would not be a good thing. Hey, you got Guy's Ultimate Game Night coming up. Can you tell us about it?
So I love game shows. I love competition. We make competition about everything around my house. I mean, it's nonstop. And I thought, and I love Pictionary, word association games, $20,000 pyramid, all this different stuff.
I completely forgot you were hosting Minute to Win It. I completely forgot about that.
And I had a little show on, NBC called Minute to Win It.
Yeah, just a little one. Yeah, it's okay.
But I said, I came up with this idea. I said, I want to make a show because everybody, again, back to that common denominator of people, everybody loves food. So I wanted to make a show about food and let people have fun with it. So we have a Pictionary side of food, a word association thing to do with food, a memory game to do with food. And we invited different celebrities and their best friend or their wife or their cousin to come in. We built a restaurant. So it's got food, it's got a full bar, and we have a big audience, and they just come and we play ridiculous games about food. And whoever wins, we give money to the charity. And it's
Perfect.
Dan, it's the equivalent of you and me after the Derby going to some restaurant and, starting to play some game,
Yeah.
It's exactly what it turned into. And it's hysterical. And some of the celebrities that we have coming on are just a riot. They all get into it. Everybody has a good time. And the thing is, it's funny to find how much people do know about food, because there's all things like origins of food, pictures of food, correlations to food, you name it. And food challenges, decorating a birthday cake, handcuffed, all kinds of crazy stuff.
So Dan's going to be on the Open episode of season 2.
I'm just wondering how big of a celebrity that you need to be to get invited to the show. I mean, it just...
Well, now that I know that your post career is just flourishing, and
yes.
you're doing so, I think that if this is something you want to do, trust me. After the first 5 minutes of this podcast, I'll be more than happy to bring you on and spend some time with you.
Oh yeah, I'll hold that to you, buddy. I'll hold that.
No,
I can't wait. Like seriously, but I think like it's you really that brings that out. Like you can see your drive, you can see your passion, you can see the love of food and the love of being around people and just having a good time. So that really shows on camera when you're on there, dude.
Well, I appreciate it, and if you love what you're doing, then it's not work and it becomes fun. And the other thing for me is it gives a chance to let people be, to give people exposure to food in a different way. It also gives us a chance to meet people and understand people that maybe you didn't know the side of them or the way they are. We had Penn and Teller on. Now, Penn and Teller are hysterical as it is in anything they do. And these two coming on the show was comedy genius. I mean, it was I couldn't stop laughing. Right? It was like a full workout, just laughing at their one-liners. But it's, I think people have a blast. I think people really enjoy it. So you watch it, you let me know what you think, and then we'll talk about next season.
I love it. Perfect. Hey, buddy, thank you for coming on. I can't wait to tune in to Guy's Ultimate Game Night. Thank you for everything you do for the Best Buddies, for the Restaurant Emergency Relief Fund. You're always there when you need when somebody needs something, and hey, that's a good teammate right there.
Well, you were always the guy that you could count on. I don't ever know if everybody understands this Best Buddies program, but Tom would ask everybody to come and support and participate in this flag football game, which involved buddies and involved donors and so forth. And you were always the guy that was there supporting. And so when you told me that you had this podcast going on, I appreciate the invitation. You're the stand-up guy, and this is great. A lot of fun, good questions. You keep it moving. There's a lot of cross correlation. I think this, taking people's industries that they do and taking sports and seeing how they interface is awesome. So congratulations, continued success on this, and I'll talk about season 2 of Game Night, and you let me know when I get to come back, and then maybe we'll have Tip show up.
There you go. And enjoy the Gagas.
Yeah, we'll see you up in North Conway.
See you guys.
Past Our Prime is brought to you by Squad Locker. Squad Locker is your one-stop shop for custom team apparel, delivered right to your front door. Learn more by visiting squadlocker.com.